There have been 70 years or more in Pak-US relations, and there has been many ups and downs, but there has been a general trend that given the U.S. interest, strategic interest during the Cold War, democracy was set aside, and strategic interest, of course, were given a preference, and Pakistan was treated as a strategic ally for many times whenever there was a need. But there was a complaint on the side of Pakistan that it was abandoned when U.S. strategic interest waned. A new trend now we have seen, we have witnessed since the Bush administration has come into power, that has been the centrality of democracy in the strategic discourse of the U.S., whereby it has been insisted that democracy will play a central role while the world goes under transformation. We have with us Dr. Tahir Jamil, and we will discuss in detail what this connotation has importance for Pak-US relations, particularly when there is going to be a diplomatic reset. Dr. Tahir Jamil, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm really appreciate this effort on your part. So thank you very much.
We see like through the United States national security strategy of 2023 that democracy has been given a center stage in the strategic discourse, though it was said before as well by many presidents, but the situation seems to be different, particularly after Ukraine crisis. What do you see?
Okay, so one permanent factor in American foreign policy and American strategy that it has imagined for the region and for all of the world, one important factor is the democracy. And it is, I can say that it is the central norm of American foreign policy, that wherever, although sometimes it is compromised because of certain strategic exigencies and challenges which they are going to face, and they have to make a compromise with some actors which are non-democratic. But the trend is that Americans have always been focusing on the democratic values, and it is one of the basic norm of their whole foreign policy. After the Ukraine, yes, definitely we can say that it is the most important factor, that it is the strong violation of the norms which have been set after the demise of Soviet Union, that the nations were coming together on democratic values, on free market values, and you can say on the regional peace, on the humanitarian values. And this was a sheer violation of the borders, of the humanitarian values, and also international covenants which have been committed by the Russia. And I think there is much concerns must have been engendered in the circles of United States of America, but the way they have expressed, it is less in quantum, less in its
Dr. Saab, it has been clearly said by Bush administration
yes.
Through NSS 2023 that the competition now is between authoritarian states and democratic
states. Yes.
And in India Pacific, they are raising, they are constructing alliances of democracies.
Definitely. For example, here I would like to invoke Huntington's thesis that the democracies are expanding. If you start from 40s, then from 70s, you will find that the non-democratic nations and the non-democratic regimes are dismantling. But there are the few linchpin. And I cannot say that they are archetypically undemocratic. But when I look at their economic policies, for example, if you look into the China, they hail for the communism and the socialism and the closed market, but at the same time, they are very much competitive in the international economic market, and they are following those norms and the values which are followed by any good democracy in the world. But Russian case is a bit different, because when I look at the export profile of the Russia, it is much based on exports of, for example, oil and the gas and other minerals. So to me, Russia is very much close to a rentier state model. Chinese model is a bit closer to the economically competitive model. Yes, there are the concerns, and Americans definitely try to find their support among the nations which are democratic, because it is very easy for them to communicate with them.
Oh, okay. Let's review a little bit the situation of 1990s
Yes.
when there was Bush doctrine in display. It was thought that if authoritarian states are removed through force, then democracy will find a way throughout the world. When it becomes a norm, then about Russia and China, they should be given a membership in WTO. They should develop, they should be invested so that with the passage of time they too will become democracies. But that those expectations have failed. The
Yes.
experience, the experiment of Middle East, that failed, and you see the powers that benefited from the free trade are now, were the free riders are now challenging America.
Yeah, there is a big challenge for America, but I think now for the America, but now the situation is changing. I will come to first question. For example, whenever there was an attempt made on the part of the Americans to force democracy upon the non-democratic nations, and in some instances it was done into the Latin American nations, but it was failed. Why? Miserably failed. And this process is called as the institutional monocropping. When you take your own set of the institutions, democratic institutions, and you try to transplant them into another setting. But here is another problem, that is the endogenous conditions. First of all, you have to bring the endogenous conditions. And most of the time when I talk about the endogenous condition, I often refer to the example of India. India has a democracy. But if you look at the dividends which India has got from in terms of the democracy, they are not so much commendable. Okay? Because endogenous conditions have not been changed. Why democracy is successful in Europe? Why democracy is successful in America and other nations? Because they have an endogenous condition of egalitarian values. This is one important. Another, you are talking about these Middle Eastern nations. They have one thing important, that is, I have talked about the rentier state model. Because these nations are lucky in a sense that for the economic resources, for the mobility of the economic resources, they don't have to tax their people. When a human mind becomes politically active, when you are taxed, when you are going to face the economic problems. When you are not going to be taxed, then you don't bother. That whatever is happening around, there is no problem.
Dr. Saab, coming straight to Pakistan.
Okay, good.
Pakistan's case.
Yes, please.
Pakistan's case is somewhat different right now.
Yeah.
We have borders with China,
Yes.
and we have borders with India.
With India,
India
with
is
the-
a strategic partner of America, and China is a competitor
A great competitor, yes.
or rival,
Yes.
you can say. Pakistan's position is that we have a fragile economy that was built on American model of development.
Okay.
Two, we have a fragile democratic institutions as well. Three, we can due to our economic and political fragility, we can be pulled from either side.
Either from China or from America.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yes. So what Americans can think about our economy, our democracy, there exists a huge democratic deficit.
Yes.
And I think the recent mode will be different.
Okay. So first of all, we should.
They are not thinking us as a strategic partner. They are calling us a special ally.
No, we are the special ally because we have certain compromises, certain common point in terms of strategy, in terms of regional defense, and whatever the development is taking place on our western borders, and definitely they have the concerns whether China is going to invest in Pakistan. So we are a very good partner. We are strategic partner. But now the question is that you have mentioned two words. One is the political uncertainty and economic fragility.
Yes.
Now this is a chicken egg game. That is economic fragility because of the political instability, or political instability is because of the economic fragility. This question we must have to be keep in mind. But again, what the role we are going to expect from our regional partners, particularly China and from United States of America, no one is going to take care of you 100%. The question is that how we are going to milk from our partners on the basis of our strategic and economic potential, demographic potential. Pakistan is a country which has a lot of positive things, and particularly whenever I talk about Pakistan, I mention its demographic potential. We have the youngest population in the world. But the question is that we can easily convert it into a wasteland by not putting a good investment, a substantial investment, by converting this human capital into, by converting this much population into human capital and human resource. Americans have its own, in this regard also we have to understand economic administration of the administration of America. They cannot give you the money. They cannot give you the handouts. So far market concerns are concerned, you have to compete.
So they are insisting on structural reforms.
Yes,
They are
structural reforms are,
facilitating us at international financial institutions.
yes, yes.
And there are reports that they are discouraging our establishment to venture for some other form of government like technocracy. They are asking us to follow the constitution.
I think
So they want to cooperate with us on environment, climate change.
yes.
They don't want us to be our military ally either. So diplomacy and democracy, these two sides prop up as an area of mutual interest. Basically.
Yeah, we have so many mutual. Yes, definitely you can say that. Americans are always very much concerned when they are done with the strategic adventurism with any country. Then their next step is to stabilize the countries and on the economic and the democratic norms and the values. So definitely, because when they are the democracy, it is good for them to communicate with other things, because then they begin to penetrate into the people, try to cajole the masses that they are happy with the American democratic norms and the values and their humanitarian aid. Yes, but I think there are many areas where we can have a good relation with the United States of America. Even there are the many areas where we can cap with the potential of China. But the question is that how we are going to rearrange ourselves, how we are going to restructure ourselves.
Dr. Saab, in this way, democracy is the common ground now.
Democracy is not yet the common ground, because we don't have the fully functional democracy. Although there is a theory, there is one important theory. Yes, there is that we call as the democratic peace theory. That when the two dyads and two countries brought together, if they have the one common value, that is the democracy, there are the little chances for them to fight, and there are the much chances for them to cooperate into that, definitely. But I think, but Pakistan is very much on strengthening its democratic norms, its values, its institutions, and our masses have begun to believe that this is the only way out, that we have to strike our economic problem, we have to strike our political problem, even strategic problem, through the democratic discourse.
Okay, alternatively, it falls in American interest that we stay democratic.
Yes, definitely. Because American,
and
yes.
I hope during the next episode of this program,
Yes.
we will continue on this point, that it falls in American interest that we don't go astray, we stay democratic, we continue our democratic undertakings, and we take it as a model of our socio-economic development, and we stay committed to international free trade system, and further we can, by staying democratic, we can justify our neutrality in the international system that's going to be in a conflict mode, or to say World War II. We will see you next time with this topic. We will continue this topic. Till that time, Khuda Hafiz.